Hi there. I'm here with Jenny, the founder of Viola Montessori.
No, so it's Voila.
Voila. Voila.
But I've actually renamed it as Your Parenting Mentor. Exactly for that reason, because Voila was turning into Viola. For some reason, people are just dyslexic. All of it. So it's Your Parenting Mentor, and I go by my birth name, which is Jeanne Marie.
Jeanne Marie. Okay.
Jenny is the nickname because we've known each other since high school.
That's right. I know you as Jenny. So I respect Jenny so much, especially and always, but especially as a parent, because she has two amazing kids. Not only are they super confident, but they're so independent, and not independent physically, like they go off and do their own thing, but also independent minds, and again, super confident.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to ask you, did you get into parenting before you had kids, or did you have kids and then get into parenting?
No, I became a parent when I had my first child. I mean, I will say that I was the youngest of two girls until I was about 11. And when I was 11, within a year and a half, I got three brothers, three newborn brothers, because both my parents decided to remarry and have children. And so I did become kind of a little mother to my baby brother, the one that I lived with. His dad, unfortunately, abandoned us within 5 weeks of his birth. So I kind of became very protective. And so there is a sense of that. But no, parenting, your child teaches you how to be a parent.
Right. But as far as mentoring,
no, I actually became a parenting mentor only in the past 10, 15 years. And I actually went back to school as a mature 43-year-old when my children were 8 and 4. And I completely changed my career from having been a graphic designer working in advertising for 20-some years, and decided that there was more to life than making mailers.
Right.
And decided to go back to school and get a master's in Montessori education, and was, worked in the classroom with children for many years. And that's when I realized, like, oh my gosh, this is just invaluable information that every parent on the planet needs to know.
Right.
And that's why I kind of changed and became really a parenting mentor, and work now directly with parents, really sharing what I've learned, working with children, but what I learned studying Montessori, positive discipline, mindfulness, conscious parenting, all the beautiful tools that are out there that I think as a parent, it gets overwhelming.
Right.
And, we come to parenting, I mean, the only manual that we have is our own childhood.
Right.
And sometimes that doesn't look so pretty.
No, it
and
doesn't.
We want to do better. Right. So how do we do that? And today, 21st century, there's a lot of tools, and there's just a lot of knowledge now that we have on the actual brain and what our children really need from us. So that's my mission, is to share all of that.
I know, and you have online courses.
I do.
You do private mentoring.
I
know you've opened up schools all over the world, and I know people call you up from China and everywhere to go and do parenting mentorship, private and for schools. So my question is, I was talking to this lady, and she was sharing with me how one of her kids was, at an Ivy League school, just thriving, excited about life, and she had another kid that was literally on the streets on drugs. Like, she was shocked how two kids could be so different. And my question is, I don't know if you believe in karmic, or we all have our journeys in this life. Because I was talking to a spiritual guru that I talk to usually, and my daughter was going through a hard time, and I was like, why is this happening? What did I do? And he told me, people have their souls have their lessons to learn in this universe. And a lot of it is the soul doesn't know what's good or bad, but they have their lessons to learn on their own. So I wanted to ask you as a parent, like, and I love that thing that I read somewhere, you said, like, people are, your kids aren't yours.
That's Khalil Gibran, a Lebanese poet, who wrote this beautiful piece on children.
Right.
It's the prophet, somebody asked him about children, and I have it. And that's what I was going to go to is, your children are not your children. Your children are belong to the future. Like there's not even any way that you can imagine the life that they will have, especially today. I mean, especially with the new jobs being created and everything. Like, I have no clue what my children are going to be, right? But I entered parenting really with that notion of, I feel like as a parent, and maybe even more during pregnancy, it's like your body is on loan, right? You are here to serve a purpose, to just bring this other human to life. But their life, their soul, everything does not belong to you. You can, for me, my role as a parent is just to be a guide. I've been here on planet Earth just a little bit longer than my child, so I'm going to show them the way. But what they decide to do with it, you know that I have a 20-year-old who loves to race on a skateboard at 60 miles an hour. If it was my choice, I would say, please don't do that. Right. But it's not my choice. This is his life, right? So,
what do you do when they're doing something destructive? How do you guide? And one thing I have recognized in myself is, like, I thought I loved my daughter unconditionally. I mean, I love her more than anything else in the world. But the more I look at how I acted when she didn't do something that I thought she should be doing, there was love taken away. Like, I wasn't scolding her or anything, but I wasn't warm loving to her when she didn't do the things I wanted.
Because you were judging what she was doing. Yeah. And for me, that's a big piece of parenting, is that we need to observe. Be scientific observers without any expectations, without any judgment, of really seeing what is happening. So when you see a child that is maybe, not well or hurting themselves, again, this is a judgment, but you know your child well. All you can say is, I notice that you're having a hard time. I'm here for you. If you need me, I'm here for you.
But let's say they're using drugs or whatever. What do you do? Would you just say, I'm here for you? Or would you take action? Or what would you do?
Depending on the level of, destruction or such, I would definitely, for one, it's you set up the stage when they're young. You let them know what is acceptable, not acceptable, and such. But and I think this, and every parent knows this, the minute we say, no, don't do that, what are they going to do?
They're going to want to do it more.
So at some point, we have to say, I respect what you're doing, and I don't believe this is in your best interest. And I love you, and I want, I'm here to help you. So please know that, I'm here and such, drugs and all of this, it gets into also, for me, like mental health, where sometimes there's things beyond our control, beyond our power. When it's a chemical imbalance in the brain, it's like we might need professional help. So I think it's important for parents to also seek help Like
Right.
we can't figure out everything. Like your friend, you say, that has, two opposite people. As long as they're both happy. Some people choose to be homeless. I mean, I have a family member who his son chose to go live in caves and be completely off the grid. I mean, he's happy.
Yeah.
He now has a family. He's gone through his thing. It's like, so that's why I say they don't belong to you.
Right.
It's true that as a parent, when we see our child suffering or, not doing well, at least what we think is well. But so that's why I say there's a difference between seeing somebody suffer, and to me that's, when we get into mental health and if there is drug abuse, or if they're being abused or something there, we feel like we do need to step in. Because we have to step in. I mean, I think that's our role, even if it's not our child. Like we want to be protective. But when it is personal lifestyle choices,
right,
who are you to say what's good or bad?
Okay,
Are they happy?
Right.
That's all that matters in the long run.
So going back to the lady that had two different kids, how much of that do you think is someone's karmic thing, and how much of it do you think is parenting? Because how could two kids be so different from the same parent?
We all are. I'm extremely different from my siblings.
So some of it is just who you are, and
a big part of it is your temperament. It's the temperament that you're born with. How you learn to manage that temperament. It can be your astrological signs. It can be the emotional, psychological condition your mother was when she carried you. I recently, with some therapy that I'm doing, I recently realized that when my mother was, when I was in utero, my mother was fearing for her life.
Yeah.
How much did that affect me?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's, there's definite, and then, I'm kind of believe more and more in kind of our ancestral things that we carry with us of,
trauma.
Different beliefs that maybe, my ancestors had, and things that we need to work through. But that's a great question that I would have to ponder on. But I do believe that there is, I believe in reincarnation for one. So I think that we come back for as many times as we need to come back until we figure our shit out. It's like, oh shit, I'm back again. I didn't figure it out, because it's funny, I was thinking of that the other day. It's like, I'm nearing 60, I'm gonna have a big birthday soon. And I was like, why now am I just figuring things out? Like, really?
Yeah. But there's so many layers.
Next time I'll figure things out a little sooner. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I think there's so many different layers of figuring out, and different, maybe you figured out parenting, like in this lifetime, and there's some other things you can figure out in your next lifetime.
True. Who knows? Who knows? We have no clue. We make it up as we go, right?
Yeah. Actually, I'm turning 60 pretty soon too, and I'm like, oh my God, I needed to be further ahead. I don't know of what, but it seems like it's such a
But that's instead of judging your daughter there, you're judging yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's the judging that we need to get over.
Oh my God, I have so much judgment. So one other question I had, there seems to be so much social anxiety among kids these days.
Okay.
Not only kids, like even,
even myself, yes.
Yeah. Even with the pandemic, getting isolated and then going back into society. If there were like 2 or 3 tips you could give parents to help their kids with social anxiety, what would that be?
To go at their pace, to not force them of anything, to there's plenty of tools now of whether it's meditation, whether it's breathing, whether it's just kind of visualization, all of that. So helping our child kind of work things through, but again, without judgment.
Right.
Without like, oh, don't be silly. Come on, let's go. You know them, these people, whatever. No, it's just part of, and it's funny because when you say social anxiety, and it has nothing, I think, to do. I mean, I'm sure the pandemic has not helped, but it just we have it, once in a while. I think depending on what we're going through in our life, and I realized recently my daughter was sharing with me. When she was around 18 years of age, she would have these panic attacks. So she had already left home. She was actually being an au pair in Paris, and she had, anxiety of going out. So
she didn't share it with you back then?
Not at the time. She dealt with it on her own.
Good for her.
And yeah, good or not, I don't know. I wish I would have known to maybe help more, but there was a lot going on. There was, I think maybe some self-confidence. She had, some bad acne. The au pair people, first ones were terrible. So there was all accumulation of things, and I think there it's important to say, what do you think would help you? What would make you feel good? What would make you feel safe? Because that's the whole thing with anxiety is you just don't feel safe.
Right.
So what can I do to make you feel safe?
Right.
Do you need a hug? Do you need, let's go for, a walk, just the two of us? Do you want to wear a cape? Whatever it is. And I think what it comes down to is that children have solutions, but we tend to forget to ask them.
Right.
We tend to impose what we think is going to work.
Right.
Right? Oh, don't be silly. Come on, just put on your pretty dress and let's go. Well, no. They'd rather, put on a hoodie and hide. And so for me, it's just patience. It's really accepting the fact that they're going through something, and that it's going to be okay. And that to me, I really, that sometimes these bouts of anxiety or whatever is to remember that it doesn't define you. It doesn't define you, and that you will get better, right? And that it's with time things will pass.
Right. One thing I noticed, then we can wrap it up. One thing I noticed is disharmony in the mind is the worst. Like, even if you're going through a hard time and you just accept that you're going through a hard time, it's so much easier than, fighting what is and creating that disharmony in the mind. Then you can't even move. You get stuck.
Yep. And you go into these vicious circles of, believing certain things and such. And it's interesting because earlier today I was listening to an interview of Byron Katie, the work, and she does exactly that. Is that true? And it's really examining our thoughts, and it's this when you say disharmony with the mind, to me it's about understanding the connections between our thoughts and our beliefs, right? And that a thought doesn't necessarily need to be true.
Right. Exactly.
Right? So it's about, and sometimes, just the work that you need to do in dismantling a belief. Like, where did you get that belief in the first place?
Right. And her work is really good and you get down to it.
Yeah. And for me, like, I'm doing some therapy these days with a person who does kind of helps you float back to some memories. And you know what? Most often than not, they're back in childhood.
Right. Yeah.
That's why, to me, like, the work of parenting is so precious, because we are setting up these, future adults to believe in themselves and to have confidence, and so it's really important to help them examine their beliefs, help them examine their thoughts.
That's really true. It's really important to get our kids to think about these things, but a lot of times, everything starts within you. So for me, I mean, I have tried to do self-growth things forever, and I still find myself in the ways that I interact with my daughter that I'm like, oh my God, like I keep realizing these new ways.
Good. You will till the day you die.
Yeah. Yeah. But then with that comes like guilt, and I have to work with that. So, but a lot of times you're passing on beliefs that you're not even aware of that you have to your kids.
Because you got them passed down from your ancestors.
Exactly.
And from society and from, you know, the patriarchy and all of these things. So you're doing the work. You're showing up. You're a human being on this planet. Yeah. You have a beautiful daughter. You're beautiful. And I think we do our best. Like, what's the point in beating ourselves up? You know? Right. For me, I really entered parenting like when I was expecting my first. And I remember just saying, I'm going to do my very best. And no matter what I do, I will be told I did it wrong. Yeah. So at some point, you just have to go, I'm doing my very best. Yeah.
That's true. I'm like always beating myself up, and I catch myself, and
I'm doing my very best. Yeah. And that's all you can do. Like your intention, you don't have any, you know, an ounce of evilness in you. Your intention is always to do your very best, but you need to just put your hand on your heart and look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm doing my very best. Yeah. And that's really the only way we can show up.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's always going to be room for improvement.
Always, always, always.
And when that stops, then you die.
This is true. And then we'll come back.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You were so welcome.
You were so welcome. Jeanne Marie.
Lovely.
The parenting mentor.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I love that name.
Your parenting mentor. Yes.
Your parenting